Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. Today I'm doing a video for the Paint Couture creative team. For my project today, I'm going to be using this 10 centimeter egg ornament, and I'm going to be adding Gorilla Super Glue Gel to the seam of the egg so that I can glue the two halves together. Once I have those halves secured in place, I'm going to use a wet wipe to remove the excess glue. Next, I'm going to be using Paint Couture's 2-in-1 primer in white. I'm going to be applying it with a sponge so that I don't get any brush strokes. This is going to prepare my surface for paint so that it will stick well and stay there. I'm going to apply one coat, let it dry for about half an hour, and then I'll apply a second coat and let that dry for another hour. Next, I took out Paint Couture's Buttercream chalk paint. I'm applying it with Capital Crafts by Paint Couture's round paintbrush, and I'm going to be applying 2 coats, dabbing and stippling each of those on, again, just to make sure I don't get brush strokes. When that was dry, I took out IOD's new Madeline Transfer. I'm going to be cutting this floral design to size, and I'm also going to be making little dart style cuts just so that it will be easier to fit the transfer to this rounded surface. So having those cuts just makes it a little bit easier. I'm then going to peel the backing off, and then I'm going to work out where I want it positioned on the egg. I'm also going to be adding the butterfly that you can see to the left. So I've got the flowers a little bit lower so there's room for the butterfly up the top. Then I am going to start rubbing my transfer down, working a section at a time, and carefully lifting that plastic up as I'm going. If a certain area doesn't transfer, I just put it back down and I keep rubbing. Next, I'm going to add the butterfly. I'm going to have it on a bit of an angle so that it looks like it's perhaps going to land amongst those lovely flowers. And then again, just like before, I'm going to rub that down with my transfer stick and lift that plastic up as I go. I'm going to be using Extreme Guard in Satin to seal the transfer. This is going to protect it. I'm going to be layering other things over the top of it a bit later. And then when that was dry, I took out Paint Couture's Ivory Rapid Casting Resin. I'm going to be pouring out equal parts step 1 and step 2 into a measuring cup, and then I'm going to be stirring it really well for about 30 seconds. It's definitely important to wear gloves when you're doing this and to use it in a well-ventilated area. Because I'm adding the resin to small molds, I am going to pour that resin out into a silicone cup so that I can squeeze the sides and have a little bit more control over how my resin is going into the molds. I'm also using IOD's Wreaths and Swags mold as well. After about 10 minutes, I'm going to pull the castings out. They are still flexible, which is perfect because I'm now adding Gorilla Super Glue Gel to those and adding them to my curved surface. So I'm going to add glue to the back of each of those, adding the IOD Wreaths and Swags mold up the top, and then I'm adding this primitive mold here to the outside edge. I've just cut that to size. I then decided to add another transfer to the other side. This is from the Madeline Transfer as well, and I'm going to repeat the same process, and I do end up speeding up the footage because I'm working in sections. It can take a little bit longer to get the transfer down, as I am definitely taking my time with this. Once I have that transfer secured down, I'm going to seal that side with Extreme Guard in Satin as well. I want a vintage look, so when that was dry, I took out Crackle Step 1, and I'm going to be applying an even coat over both sides of the egg. Now, I'm not really going up onto my castings. I don't need to do that, but I do, as I said, want a vintage look. Crackle is definitely a great way to achieve this. Once that was dry, I added Crackle Step 2 over the top of Step 1. Now, this mixture does tend to be quite a bit thicker, so I did take my time as I was applying this, just making sure that I'm covering all of those areas where I have step 1. And then I do like to use my hairdryer to speed up the drying process, and it is very satisfying watching those beautiful cracks appear. I then took out light brown sugar and Aegean glaze, and I'm going to begin by adding it to the resin castings first. I am going to be adding another color over the top of these, but I really do like the shadow effect around the outside of the molds here when adding the glaze. So I'm going to add it and then wipe it back with a wet wipe. I'm also obviously going to be adding it to the trim piece underneath it, and then I'm going to start adding it to the transfers side there, adding it, then pulling it back. I don't want to go too heavy directly over the top of the transfers. If a vintage look wasn't to your taste, you could leave this step out. When the glaze was dry, I took out Aegean Blue Luxe Metallic Paint. I'm using a small artist brush to apply it to the flowers and leaves in the mold from the Wreaths and Swags mold by IOD. I'm not going to go all the way down to the bottom. I still want to be able to see that glaze peeking out from the sides. And this is just such a stunning blue metallic. It is one of their newer ones, and I think it goes really well with the IOD Transfers. When the Aegean Blue was dry, I took out Paint Couture's Bronze Luxe Metallic, and I am going to be applying that to the IOD Primitive trim that we have down the bottom. I am going down the sides, but again, making sure I'm not covering up that glaze. And then I am also going to add it to part of the top part there, just so we're sort of tying those two different molds together. I'm also going to add some bronze to the hanging attachment up the top. And I am then going to be moving on to adding it over the top of the flowers. I am going to be mainly focusing on the center of each of the flowers. And as I was doing this, I was really loving the color combination. And so I do decide to add it very lightly over the top of the higher points on these molds as well, so sort of catching the details of the rose there, of the leaves. And I only ended up needing to do one coat of each metallic, and again, I think these colors go really perfectly with this transfer. As a final touch, I took out this beautiful gold ribbon. I'm going to tie a simple bow. I'm then going to cut the tail lengths to the size that I want, and then I'm going to use hot glue to attach one bow to each side. So I did tie two bows. Obviously, this is a double-sided project, so I want to have the same effect on both sides. And this is quite a delicate ribbon, so I didn't think it was too much. And then I'm going to use that same ribbon to loop it through, just in case we decide to hang this. And I'm going to tie a simple knot. And here's a look at our finished spring egg. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I think all the colors work beautifully together. Let me know what you think of today's project in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit that like button, comment, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of the videos from the Paint Couture creative team. Thanks for watching.